everyone. Welcome back to Cincinnati Zoo Tales. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Mark. Thank you for listening to another episode. It's a celebration today. We're celebrating our not so much, I was about to say baby hippo. He's not so much of a baby anymore.
He's kind of a baby.
But Fritz's second birthday. It's just me and Jenna today. So sorry to all you listeners. You're stuck with the two of us.
He's the baby of our bloat.
He is the baby of our hearts.
Yes, yes. And if you go back in past years, Fiona was considered a zoo baby for like 6+
That's
years.
true.
we really ran with that one. But yeah, Fritz is celebrating his second birthday on August 3rd. This episode will actually come out a few days after his birthday. National Watermelon Day. He was born on August 3rd of 2022. Yes, I'm like math.
Yeah, you got it.
On National Watermelon Day, which is perfect because it's one of their favorite snacks.
I know. And I think it was was that time's running together for me. Was that last year when he had all those watermelons carved?
Yes, for his first birthday.
For the first birthday party, that's right. Those were incredible. I love seeing all like the watermelon artwork. And it's just a cool little fun fact that he's born on World Watermelon Day.
So yes, he was born on World Watermelon Day, which is a fun fact because they love watermelons. So it was perfect for Fritz to be born on that day. And I remember we had, huge amount of people that were voting on his name. We narrowed it down to 2. And I feel like it was Jotform that we were using. They got so many people using that I think they sponsored us or did something really cool. So I can't believe it's been so long and our memories are pretty bad. But it was a huge deal. We're excited to be celebrating his second birthday. His first birthday was so fun though.
Yeah, it was.
We made it a huge deal. Like you mentioned, the watermelon carving. They had special candies and Dole Whips, and we had signs all throughout the zoo and everything. It's still very special, but we're not going as hardcore for his first birthday this year. So we're recording this a few days before his birthday. You'll hear this a few days after his birthday, but our plans are he'll get watermelons and a special little cake, and we're going to paint like the windows. So some of you might have gotten your photos taken with that window for his birthday celebration that are listening to this now. But so this year won't be quite as big of a deal. But
it'll still be a great time. And I kind of love using birthdays to kind of reminisce on the years past, right? You mentioned his first birthday was so much fun. We made podcasts about his first birthday and his birth, so if you're really interested, you can go back and listen. But do you have any like memories that stand out from, that time he was born? I know it was crazy hectic. We're on birth watch. We're all kind of watching our cameras at home overnight and everything. Do you have any like really big memories that stick out to you?
Specifically about his birth, like I'll never get over the fact that I think I was quoted in a newspaper using the word plop. Plop. I think I said something like I was trying to give Phoebe her privacy, so I was watching from a camera inside the building, but I couldn't see her. She had backed up just into the corner perfectly where I couldn't see.
There was no visual access.
Yes, but I heard a plop or a splat. Plop or splat, one of those words is what I use. And I remember thinking it was so funny to see that in print. But then my favorite things about Fritz, like the two things came to mind is like within the first week he like came up to me and just like laid down and like let me touch him, and he was just so cute and tiny. And just being so happy that I didn't get that normal experience with a baby hippo with Fiona. We were hand raising her, but with Fritz, I had heard all these stories about the moms are so protective, and sometimes you don't even get a good view of the baby for, weeks or months because the mothers are, just doing their job, being protective and kind of keeping them out of keeper view or range. But BB was so comfortable and he was brave and like just so independent. He's a very independent hippo. And then the other one, I just remember like him being so small, and he would always take naps in the drinkers.
Yes, I remember that, yes. He fit perfectly in the drinker, like a little kiddie pool.
Yes.
It was incredible.
So cute. I wish he could still fit in there.
Yeah, for me, the thing that I remember most is, that was, I don't remember the day of the week. I should remember the day of the week, but I don't. But Sam and I were actually supposed to go to a concert that evening. So we were supposed to be at a concert the night that it happened. I think it was around like 9:30 or 10 he was born. And tickets fell through. Something fell through. I don't remember the exact details. But we were kind of bummed about not going to this concert. So we're making dinner at home instead of going out to eat, instead of going out and having this fun night. And then I think that's when it was you, I believe, sent out the text message, like, because you were keeping track of the cameras while at home. You had been monitoring everything, and you sent out a message like, I think BB's going into labor. I'm going in to check it out. And I remotely from home just pulled up the cameras on my computer as well. And I was like, well, I'm really glad we're not at that concert now because I get to watch everything as it unfolded from home.
I don't think I've ever heard that story. It kind of worked out perfectly then. At least you missed it for a reason. Yeah. Like the concert you didn't get to.
It was one of those things where it's like, there's a bigger plan at play. Because I wasn't supposed to be at that concert. It was so much good memories just watching the cameras from all night long. Obviously, we're up watching the cameras. Like, how could you go to bed that night? There was so much excitement.
And you came in, like, I went home around 11, I think, to try and get sleep and come in early the next day. And you came in the middle of the night? The middle of the night
shift. So we had another one, Lissa, another member of our team, came in and relieved you. And then I relieved Lissa. I believe it was maybe like 4 a.m. or something in the middle of the night, because that first night we really wanted to make sure we're monitoring and keeping an eye on everything, and if something would have gone wrong, we were there to intervene and help out however we could have. But yeah, I come in at like 4 a.m. or something like that. It was the pitch black outside.
You're not a morning person, but I'm sure it wasn't that hard to get up, right?
No, I was so hyped for that morning. Like, normally I'm dragging out of bed. I'm slow to get in, but that morning I was excited, yeah.
Oh.
Definitely two things that stick out to me from Fritz when he was really little. The first thing is, we're going to talk about how much weight he's gained and how much he's changed a little bit over the years, but he was born at 80 pounds, and I thought he was so little. And I wasn't around for Fiona. So it really put in perspective to me, like, Fiona was born at 29 pounds. That is unbelievable. After seeing Fritz at 80, I couldn't have imagined a smaller hippo, let alone a hippo that was a third of that size. So that was insane to me.
It's wild because I do remember thinking he weighed less than he did. I was like, oh, he's probably only like 50 pounds. He did look so small, but they're just so dense and like compact, but so heavy. But that's a good point. Like, I was there. Like, from day one, the first night with Fiona, and I cannot even really remember just how small she was. It's like, I wish I had a better memory.
Like, your memory doesn't do it justice.
Not at all. Because I do remember thinking, Fritz looks so small. But 80 pounds next to 3,500 pounds is very small.
Yes.
So BB helped with that, making it seem like he was extra small.
And then the other big memory for me, like, as Fritz is kind of growing and developing a little bit, was just how fun it was to experience that through BB. Like, I really enjoyed, we didn't know how BB was going to respond. We weren't sure if she was really going to be a good mom, a bad mom. We didn't know what to expect, because obviously Fiona was such an anomaly that we couldn't really learn much from Fiona's experience with BB. But just seeing the way that BB kind of took him under her wing immediately. Like, she was a great mom from that first night he was born. And it's really fun to see BB go through all those steps and how protective she was of Fritz. But she would still let him come and interact with us and everything. She was very comfortable with the keeper staff. Yeah. And I think that was evident, too.
Protective of him from the other hippos.
From the other hippos, yeah.
I mean, I do think BB, she was a great mother with Fritz. And she probably would have been with Fiona. She just knew there was nothing she could do.
Yeah.
Her baby wasn't standing. She doesn't have hands. She can't pick it up or anything. So, but yeah, BB's been a great mother and so helpful to all of hippo research and science in so many ways, from pregnancy tests and collecting saliva so that our scientists can research their hormones, to letting us milk her, to the first ever ultrasound. So yeah, BB's a stellar mom. She deserves credit on this day, on Fritz's birthday.
Shouts to BB. She's the best, honestly.
So yeah, you mentioned that Fritz was 80 pounds when he was born.
Yeah, give us an update. How much has he grown over the last couple of years?
Yeah, so he was 724 pounds on his first birthday.
Okay.
And then 1,242 pounds as of like last week, I think.
Wow.
So he could be 1,250 by this point. But yeah, he's gained a lot of weight. He's come a long way.
2 years putting on almost 1,200 pounds. That's
yes, and
that's some healthy growth right there.
It's definitely slowed down the last few months, but and for over the year. But they gained it was incredible. You read that they'll gain 3 to 4 pounds a day from just nursing, but we were getting him on a scale every single day. He was sometimes gaining 5 or 6 pounds a day. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And he didn't. It's not like he nursed all day long, so. that hippo milk really helps them grow, I guess.
Definitely. And just for context, so he's about 1,242 as of last week. What do the rest of the hippos weigh right now?
Good question. So BB is 3,300 pounds, which is a pretty ideal weight for her. She had been hovering around the 3,500 mark, and that was a little bit heavier than we wanted her to be. So she's doing great at 3,300 pounds right now. Tucker is 4,500 pounds, which is his ideal weight. He's gigantic, but
huge.
1,200, a whole nother Fritz more than BB. And then Fiona, she's weighing like high 24s, 2,500 pounds right now.
Yeah, it's really funny because when you're out on the public side, you'll have visitors ask, like, how can you tell them apart? And it's really interesting right now because we've got each different life stage of the hippos.
That's
and
true, yeah.
different male versus female dynamics. So, like, you can really clearly tell just based on size who's who when even if you're not very familiar with our hippos, you can pretty clearly tell just based on the size who's who.
I will say, though, it can be difficult in moments to tell them apart, like, because even though it is a huge difference, sometimes in certain photos, somebody will ask me who's who, and I, like, find myself embarrassed. Like, I really need a second to tell you.
I've had that happen before as well. Like, you just see a photo of just a single hippo, and you're like, wait, let me look at the facial features. Let me really dive into this, because I don't want to misidentify this.
Yeah, I'm worried in, like, 2 years when I'm looking back at, like, Fritz baby photos and Fiona baby photos. Like, if I didn't have a like, a timestamp for the photo, I'll struggle to tell them apart. I need to figure that out before it gets too late. Like, different identifiers for them.
Oh man, but he has grown a lot, you mentioned. What's he like? Will you give us some updates on his diet? Like, is he getting more food now? Does he have a different favorite food now than he may have before? What's he eating nowadays?
Yeah, so we've always read and been told that hippos typically nurse about 8 to 12 months, but a lot of you listeners who are members here probably noticed that Fritz has been nursing up until almost 2 years now. He still might every once in a while. I haven't personally seen it in a few weeks, and I haven't seen any, like, people post about it. But definitely up until about 23 months old, he was still nursing.
Which is crazy.
Yes. But I guess it's just like humans. You know, if the mom allows it, some babies will nurse as long as their mothers will allow it, and sometimes babies stop way sooner than you would expect them to. So BB was
BB's an incredible mom.
Yes.
We already mentioned.
Oh my gosh. There have been some amazing videos and times where you'll notice, or you'll get to see her, like, position herself to make it easier, because Fritz is so big now, and he does nurse underwater, which is just incredible. But, like, she'll prop herself up in a way that her back legs just float, and then he can come up underneath her without being, like, so squished between her and the ground, or, like, roll onto her side. But I've seen it more where, like, her back end is up in the air, and she's, like, propped herself up on the little, like, ledge that Fiona and Fritz love to sleep in, or so that's incredible. So he may or may not still be nursing, but I haven't seen it personally. And the reason I say why he may still be is, honestly, I don't get to spend none of us get to spend tons of hours just observing, and there's a good chance that there's plenty going on while we're inside cleaning or overnight, so who knows.
Yeah.
But he is getting 4 pounds of herbivore grain. And for reference, BB also gets 4 pounds and Fiona gets 3 pounds. So because Fritz is a growing boy and Fiona, we would love for her to grow her skeletal frame, but we don't want her belly to grow anymore. So Fiona's on 3 pounds. Tucker gets 9 pounds. So Fritz's will adjust as he gets older. And definitely if he stops nursing for good and we notice, like, we can always up his diet some, but then he gets about 6 pounds-ish are assigned to him of Timothy hay. But he has free range to BB's hay, and then at night, all 4 hippos are spending time together outside. We put, probably 40% of their hay that was weighed out for them as individuals is put out all together, so he can eat from
It's kind of a group feeding.
Yeah.
They all eat together. They all kind of share each other's food for that nighttime feed,
Yes.
that evening feed.
I definitely have noticed, as far as his favorites, that he has become pickier and rather than liking more things. So I don't know if everyone remembers, we did a video where he ate tomatoes.
Yeah.
And none of the other hippos would eat them. He no longer eats them. He won't eat cauliflower, but the other hippos will. So I haven't noticed, like, a favorite yet, other than, of course, he loves the sweet fruits and things that you would expect them to love, like cantaloupe or
That's really
watermelon.
funny you mentioned that, though, because I don't work at the hippo building as often as you do. You're our primary keeper for the hippos, so you get to spend a lot of time over there. I'm just over there kind of filling in maybe once a week, once every other week, whatever it is. But I've noticed the same thing with Fritz, and I've been meaning to ask you about it, but I was like, is it just the one day I happen to be over there? He's a little bit picky, because I swear he always used to gobble up anything. Didn't matter what you put in front of him. And the last couple months or so, I've noticed him refusing some of those produce items.
Do you remember what they were?
Like the one day he wouldn't touch the peppers.
Okay.
We had,
and those are hit or miss, I think.
yeah,
Yep.
we had peppers for him the one day, and then the other day, oh man, I can't remember what it was. I think it may have been cauliflower that he wasn't eating as well, and all the other hippos didn't have a problem and were munching away on it. And I was like, this is so strange. Like, what happened? Why is he getting picky all of a sudden?
That happens with human toddlers too, right? Like,
yeah, that's true.
For like the first however many months when they start eating solids, they'll eat anything, and then they turn 2 or whatever, and they're like, oh, pickier, and you don't understand why, but
Fritz is entering the terrible
change,
twos.
right?
Terrible twos.
He definitely did not like grapefruit the other day, actually. I just remembered, and I was shocked that any of them did, but BB ate it right up. And Fiona like ate one and then bit one and spit it out, but eventually ate it. And Fritz just spit it out, so I can't remember if Tucker ate his or not, but I was shocked that any of them would eat grapefruit in
I
general.
would think the
But
same
Fritz
thing.
does not like grapefruit either, so.
Yeah, I feel like you mentioned, though, he does have a lot of, like, the similar quote-unquote favorites is the melon.
Yeah.
I feel like they all love cantaloupe, they all love watermelon and honeydew. Those stuff are really rewarding for them.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know if he likes pineapple yet. I know we had one recently, but I wasn't here for it. But that was one that BB wasn't a huge fan of, so I'd be interested to know if he likes it.
That'll be something to test out. One food item that I have seen him start to eat a little bit more of when it's offered as enrichment is browse. Have you noticed the same thing?
I guess I know that he likes browse, but you guys typically give it out at close when I'm not there, so I don't get to watch him personally eat as much. But then the few times that I've given it to him throughout the day, that he's always eaten it. But you think he likes it more these days?
More now than he used to, yeah. So for any of our listeners who aren't familiar, we do have a browse program at the zoo here. So we have a full coordinator who brings in browse, not just from on-site, but from off-site as well. This could be anything from bamboo to mulberry to honeysuckle, just freshly cut stuff for a lot of our large herbivores to eat. And we usually give it out at close, like Jenna mentioned. At least for our hippos, we usually give it out at close, like Jenna mentioned. But for the first, I guess, year or so that Fritz is around, he didn't really touch it at all. And then I feel like he's slowly getting more and more into it. And nowadays, doesn't matter what kind of browse we throw in there, he'll munch on it for sure. Yeah.
We've been lucky enough to get like giant logs recently. I've been leaving them out, and I've had a really good time watching. These are logs without the leaves, I guess I should say. Watching Fritz and Tucker also play with them in the pool recently. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but yeah, our browse program is awesome, and I'm glad to hear that Fritz is not picky with his browse.
No, finally, that's the one thing he's not been picky about. He's expanding his territory with browse. Love to see it. What about so browse is one form of enrichment they get. What about other enrichment items? Does he have favorite enrichment items, favorite toys, anything like that? Is it all the same as it used to be? Has it changed at all?
So we've mentioned in the past that Fritz loves toys. That's still very true to this day. We have changed our management style a little bit for the better overall, but it does mean Fritz gets less time with toys. So in the past, we would keep the hippos in more often overnight because of divers coming in the mornings and making sure that hippos are inside so the divers can go out safely in a timely manner. And then also, like, with weather, as Fritz is a baby, we want to make sure he was safe on those colder nights and that sort of thing. So him and BB did spend more time inside every once in a while. And they can only have their hard, giant, plastic-like hippo toys inside because it would scratch the glass if they were outside. And then, scratched glass isn't easy to see through, and you already have Tucker destroying your view with his dung showers half the time. So anyways, they get toys inside, and Fritz will play with them for hours. But we do keep them inside on Friday nights, and it's funny when I open up the pools on Friday mornings usually to let them have access to the water, even though it's going to get all poopy. Fritz will go straight to his toys, and you can tell he's so excited. Like, it almost makes it more novel for him, but he still loves that greenish colored cylinder. He loves the foraging toy where you push it around and food falls out. He loves the logs. I think a lot of people have probably seen him playing outside with logs. So I don't think much has changed with that. He still loves toys, and still loves the cylinders.
It's hysterical watching him inside go after his toys because it's nonstop. He will go for 90 straight minutes without stopping, just throwing these toys around, bopping them around in the pool, all kinds of stuff. He's a ball of energy once you get a toy around.
Yes, he'll skip breakfast to play with the toy for sure.
Yeah, he definitely will. It's always really fun to watch for sure. What about like any updates on training, any operant conditioning that you're doing with not just Fritz, but the Hippo bloat in general?
Yeah, so there's lots of training going on at all times. I feel like there's never enough time. So we try and get that done in the mornings before 9, but sometimes hippos are out late because that is our best time to train them before they go out for the day when we have the most people here. And so the others are currently pretty status quo, not training any new behaviors with them. BB and Fiona continue with their, they know blood draws, open back. I feel like they do all sorts of ultrasounds. I can't think of much. Yeah. And recently this year they were trained for radiographs, so we were able to get radiographs of everyone's heads as much as you can with a hippo. Because their heads are so large and their jaws are so muscular and heads are so dense and everything, it's hard to get like really good pictures of like the back parts of their jaws, but we've definitely gotten the front parts of their faces. And so BB and Fiona are pretty much, we just practice with them and keep them comfortable with those behaviors. And then Tucker, he was learning a blood draw. We've kind of taken a back seat to that and focused on a few other things, but Tucker did participate in the radiographs. We wanted to make sure we got those before we continued any more of the angle, electric angle grinder that we used to take some of the length off of his bottom left canine. We wanted to make sure we weren't going to get down to the pulp or the nerve or the root or anything. So those radiographs confirmed that we're not. So we're need to focus more on that again.
Yeah, Tucker's got some dental issues for sure that we've worked very hard to correct, and you've made a lot of headway on that.
Yeah. So he did have an issue with like a pressure wound. The wound is gone. It's fully healed, but he does still have like an indent from his bottom left canine, like putting pressure on his gum. So we'll continue to try and take length off of that. And Fritz, though, is the smartest boy, and he learns things so quickly, and he can do everything that other hippos do, aside from blood draw, which he's doing incredible for. We actually put out a video. You guys can check it out on the zoo's Facebook page, or it's on the zoo's YouTube, I believe, and TikTok and all sorts of things. But
social media in general, it's out there. It's out there.
But Fritz comes up and he will get into the right position for us to hold his tail and allows us to poke it with a needle. We just haven't done a real needle stick yet, just making sure he's really comfortable with it. And he is so good at it. Like, he's definitely going to be the fastest one to accept it, I feel like, unless he grows too much. So we always have issues with Fiona. She was trained for blood draw, but then she became too long for the way we did it, so we tried it a different way. She got too long for that. Now we found, finally at an angle, we're able to get her tail in the right position, and Fritz is like almost too long to do the position. So I have a bad feeling that we're going to get him all trained for it, and then we're going to just teach him a new position for
Which was really a challenge for Fiona, because it felt like every 6 months you were retraining the behavior because you had to have a new setup because she outgrew the setup for the old behavior, which made things really tricky in the barn. And I'm sure you're probably going to face some of those same obstacles with Fritz, unfortunately.
Yes, definitely. They grow so quickly. And we try and take our time with the blood draw because you don't want to do it to rush it and then make them super nervous about a needle poking them in their tail, towards their tailbone. Like, it's a really sensitive spot. So we just try and take our time with that one. We don't rush that training at all. And so it takes longer than a lot of behaviors, and therefore they can grow a lot in that time frame. But something that it's not even that big of a deal, but it's just so cute and I'm so proud of, because none of the other hippos do this, but Fritz has a down behavior, and it's just so cute, and he learned it in 2 sessions. But essentially I captured this behavior. When we're doing training with other hippos, Fritz always lays in the same spot and just like plops down and sits there with his feet out as close to us as he can possibly be.
Just watches us the whole training session.
Cute. He could be in the pool with BB, but he chooses to watch and probably is hoping for snacks. And so I trained that behavior in just 2 sessions, and he does it at different spots. So not even just that spot where he typically does it on his own. But eventually I realized that it's actually a good position that we could maybe do blood draws from his foot too. So no matter his size, it wouldn't matter if he nose down and his foot kind of sticks out from underneath the barrier, then we'll be able to safely get blood draws from their feet. But the vein in their foot is much smaller. And sometimes you have to use an ultrasound to find the vein. So it's harder to find. So for the vet techs, they have to be really, really accurate with their poke, with the needle stick. And then also the blood flows a little bit slower, so it can take longer to get the amount of blood you might need. So anyways, I'm really proud of Fritz for that, and he's just such a quick learner. And, I mean, he's 2 and he knows all these behaviors that the adults know. So.
No, he's super impressive. I remember it was like, geez, it's probably been a year now. You came into the break room at lunch and you were so hyped. You were like, guys, Fritz just learned back in one day. I was like, wait, what? Like, no, you know, that's a pretty simple behavior, so to speak. But even still, a simple behavior can still take weeks or more to train. And I was like, wait, I got to see this. And then like the next day or day after or something, you showed me. I was like, this is wild. This kid is already
so
picking up on stuff. It's crazy. And I'm sure it does give him a little bit of an advantage versus the other hippos because he can see them and he can see, you know, they watch the training sessions just like you said. He sits down and watches the training sessions.
That's a good point. I do wonder how much he's like learned from watching.
Just from watching, yeah.
He definitely has an awesome open mouth behavior too. Like he opens it so wide and will hold it for so long. Whereas Fiona, she's almost 8 years old and I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but she opens for like 3 seconds and then closes her mouth. So we need to work on that with her, but Fritz has got it down.
Yeah, speaking of that open mouth behavior, he's got all of his teeth really coming in now. It's been fun to watch because for the longest time I feel like it was just a white little dot poking through his gum lines, and his like tusks are actually starting to take shape now.
Yeah, I feel like around a year is when you start to see like the tusks break through, and then recently in the last 6 months he lost. Like you could see his baby teeth were still there and his new ones were poking out, and I was so close to like pulling one of his really, really wiggly teeth, and I was like, no, I'll leave it be, but I wanted to so badly. One, so that I could say I've pulled a hippo tooth that was supposed to come out, and 2, so that we could keep it as like a little memento and show on our tours and stuff.
Yeah.
But I just let it be. I didn't want to hurt him, and I didn't want to like do it too soon or something. It was gone in the next hour. He went outside. I did a tour at like 10:45, and the tooth was gone. So it was definitely ready to come out, and I wish I would have just tried a little harder. But yeah, so you can see the baby teeth getting pushed out and some of those front tusks. And he doesn't have any left. I think he's completely has all of his adult teeth, unless maybe he has some more molars to come in.
Yeah, sometimes it can be hard. The molars are so far in the back of their mouth. Sometimes it can be hard to get a really good visual on those.
Yes, and I still am learning stuff about hippo mouths. I really don't know how their teeth come in exactly, but I do think just based off of what I saw with Fiona and him, it's like after a year, those tusks start to pop through and they grow about an inch a year or so. Because Fiona is almost 8, and I would guess hers are about 7 or 8 inches long. So probably slowly over time, they grow an inch or a little more every year.
Yeah, I'll be curious to track that as he gets older for sure, especially kind of had the contrast of like male versus female, because obviously the male tusks are going to end up being longer than the female tusks. So I'm curious, but I think that rate is probably spot on, because I think his are almost exactly an inch right now, you know, and he's a year old. Yeah.
So maybe at least with Fiona and Fritz, it seems to be that rate. Yeah. For the 2 hippos I know I've seen.
They're fun though. But like speaking of, you know, Fiona and Fritz, how has Fritz's kind of group dynamic shifted as he's gotten to be 2 years old? How does he interact with BB? What about with Fiona and Tucker? Is Tucker still scared of him?
That's a good question, because I've noticed a huge difference, again, in the last 6 months or so, or even the last 3 months, I've noticed the biggest difference, where it started off, obviously BB was very protective. Fiona was not allowed to be near him, so she learned not to come near him for quite a long time. And I was so bummed because I thought they would play when he was a little baby. But I'm actually seeing them play more now than ever. I think he's big enough, he can put up a fight. BB is like, she doesn't care anymore.
She's like, you do your thing, kid.
Fiona, you need to discipline him, go for it. So the dynamics were kind of like, Fiona still stood back at tours, and BB and Fritz were like the main ones getting fed. And if Fiona got too close to Fritz, BB would kind of let her know. And now it's BB's not going to stop anything from happening. So Fritz is getting disciplined every once in a while now by BB, which he, used to let him get away with everything. He definitely can't get away with everything these days. And Tucker is definitely not afraid of him, and I don't think he necessarily engages interactions, but Fritz does with Tucker.
Yes.
So you'll see them interacting a lot. And again, BB doesn't care about that. But it was for a while, like, Fritz very interested in Tucker, and I think Fritz and Fiona are spending more time together now, which is super cool to see. And hopefully Fiona likes it. I don't know. It seems like they're playing. But Fritz is definitely starting to cause chaos. For however many years, it was always, well, I guess it's changed over the years just because of different hippos that have been here, but for the last year until the last few months, it was always BB and Fritz came in first, and then Fiona, and then Tucker, or BB and Fritz and maybe Tucker and then Fiona, but usually BB and Fritz came in first. And now it seems to be Tucker, and I don't know if he's like just trying to escape Fritz as soon as possible or what's going on. Tucker's coming in first a lot, and then either Fiona or Fritz, and Fritz just gets in the way. Or Fritz will come in first sometimes and turn around and open his mouth as wide as he can and try and back Fiona out.
Oh my gosh.
And he's causing so many issues because then Fiona will be nervous to come inside, and then she'll go back out in the pool, and then we're waiting for her to come back in. And it doesn't really matter which stall they're in inside, but there was like a pattern, and it was something I was used to, and it made like training simpler and all sorts of things. The way they go back out, the order kind of matters for poor Tucker. If he goes out last, then he kind of gets stuck in the barn sometimes where BB will just look at him and he'll be too scared to go by her. So it does help if Tucker goes out first. So anyways, Fritz is causing chaos with the order of things, and he's definitely trying to be tough man and backing the other hippos up and causing all sorts of issues. Maybe that's why BB comes in last. She's like, I just need a break. You all go inside. I'll take my moment out here in the pool alone. I don't know.
I don't blame her. What mom couldn't use a break, honestly. Right. And BB deserves one. That play behavior that you're talking about, that posturing is so funny to me. Every time you see it, like, Fritz will get all big and bad. He'll open his mouth really wide towards Tucker. And, like, Fritz is a toddler compared to Tucker, you know what I mean? But, like, Tucker just gives him a side eye and then just goes on about his day. Yes. He barely even notices. But
I don't know. I think a lot of people on the members page have noticed, but Fritz is constantly getting showered on by Tucker.
Yes.
And it's, for a while it seemed like, oh, just a weird coincidence. But now it's like Tucker's about to start dung showering and Fritz finds his way into the stream of it. And I don't know why he does it. He does it inside also. Like, Tucker will stop and Fritz will be coming in behind him, and Fritz does not leave. He just stands there right in the middle of it. So that's his little quirk, I feel like. Sometimes he'll lay down, so I don't know if it's some sort of male submissive thing that I don't have experience with yet. But Fritz definitely has taken a dung shower to the face a few times.
More than a few times, yeah. That was my same thought process, too, is like, I don't have any basis to base this off of, but kind of like my thought is like, maybe this is a male submissive thing where he's like denoting to Tucker, all right, I understand. I'm going to play posture at you. But when it comes to be serious, like, I understand you're the big man on campus right now. And I'm going to kind of do as you want, do as you say. But it is hilarious when you actually see it. It's like, this poor boy's a mess. Oh,
but
man.
Because of all this chaos, and I think a lot of people know, it is to be expected that Fritz will not stay with us forever. There's a few reasons for that. One being, we wouldn't want him to breed with Fiona and BB. He is related to them. Unlike Tucker. Tucker's not related to BB or Fiona. He can breed with both of them. We didn't have space for any more calves until Fritz does leave. And then, of course, Tucker and Fritz at some point, even though Tucker's like truly a gentleman and so great with all of the hippos, they would typically, in the wild, when they become reproductively mature, start to have issues with the dominant bull and kind of get kicked out to the outskirts or leave to try and find breeding opportunities somewhere else. So just with age, Fritz will need to find another home, which will be the saddest day ever.
I know.
But then he can go find females that he's not related to that are a genetic match and spread the genetic diversity of hippos throughout, North American zoos. So Fritz will eventually leave in the next, it could be 1 to 5 years. We don't really know. It'll depend a lot on finding a zoo that can take a male hippo because those are really hard to place. So we don't have a timeline other than, in the next couple of years, Fritz will likely leave. But I can see just little signs of him starting to cause trouble, and again, it's in a playful way right now.
Yeah.
But I could, if we start seeing
it will always be playful, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
At some point, he's going to be a big kid and he's going to be an adult. Yeah.
We'd rather him leave before anyone gets hurt or any real fights break out between him and Tucker. So eventually Fritz will have to go.
And you mentioned that's kind of in the wild. That naturally happens once the males become reproductively mature. About what age would that be in the wild?
For males, I've read that it's typically around 6 to 8 years old. So, of course, we could always wait until 6 to 8, but that's not necessarily the smartest or easiest route to go.
Yeah, you like to be a little bit more preventative. Yeah. And when those decisions are made, that's not just us sitting down as keepers at a table saying, hey, I want to send Fritz to this zoo. It's a huge operation. It's the SSP's involved. Any zoo who's involved with the transfer is obviously involved in that decision. And that's going to be a big undertaking when it does happen. It's going to be the saddest day ever. You're right.
I'm really hoping Columbus or Louisville decide to go with a Nile hippo habitat, and we can send him to one of those and we can visit on a weekend.
He stays close.
Yeah, an hour and a half drive away would be awesome.
Oh man, it's hard to believe it's already been 2 years.
I know.
It's insane. I was literally just having a discussion with a family member recently and talking about Fritz's birthday coming up. I was like, yeah, he's about to be 1 year old. Wait a second. He's going to be 2 years old. This is crazy.
It is. Yeah. It's wild. It happens so quickly.
I know.
But he's doing really well, and he's a very, very fun hippo and very smart and amazing to work with. And we're really excited for him to turn 2.
Absolutely. As long as he's here with us, we're going to be loving every second we got with Fritz, for sure.
Yes, definitely. So happy birthday, Fritz.
Yeah, happy birthday to Fritz. Should we sing the whole happy birthday song?
No, you can. I'll listen.
Next birthday.
Next time.
We'll do it next birthday. Oh, man, but we hope Fritz, like Jenna mentioned, we are recording this a couple days before, so Fritz, he's going to have a good birthday. We've got that big cake planned for him, so he's going to really enjoy it. We're excited for him, excited to see all the social media posts about it, and hopefully anyone listening to this is able to kind of come celebrate with Fritz and kind of share the day with him.
Yes, definitely. So thank you all for listening. We hope you have a wonderful day.
Yeah, thanks for supporting Fritz. Happy birthday, buddy.